the one thing that we do on this show in particular is, well, we pride ourselves in giving South African sporting federations, big or small, the platform to come and have a chat on all things sport. In most cases, we prefer speaking to these sporting codes outside of the top three, that being football, that's soccer, rugby and cricket. Tonight, we're joined by Boxing South Africa Chairman at BSA, Luthando Jack, who, well, took up the job in December 2020. Mr. Jack, thank you very much for joining us on Sports Live. Before I continue, maybe let me preamble this interview this way. You chair a 7-member board, which includes yourself, Gilbert Martins, Zandile Kabini, Sakiwa Michael Sodo, Eric Sitole, Suraj Maharaj, as well as Shadrach Ntanjeni. Now, in 2020, you called all stakeholders, that's what you called on, to join hands with you guys as you try and take the sport of boxing forward. We know the history of boxing. At one stage, it was, well, after football, the biggest sport in South Africa, in particular to black, boxing fans. You'd wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. Over the years, we've lost that. Where are we now? As I mentioned 2020, because we're in 2022 now, and things must have shaped up from that first sitting you had. Where are we with all the promises that we'd asked for?
Thanks, Tabiso, for having us. Yes, we were appointed by the minister in December of 2020. And then a part of what we committed ourselves to doing was to listen and learn, right across the country from the fraternity, and particularly from our licensees, on what they think are the attendant challenges, facing the sport, and not only reflect on the challenges, but then chart the way forward in terms of what it is that needs to be done to rekindle, revitalize, reposition, and reimagine professional boxing in particular, but boxing in general, in the country. And what has come out of those engagements, Tabiso, it's basically 3 pillars that all of us are committed to realizing. That one, given the history that we've just narrated, we need to renew the sport. And part at the center of renewing the sport is to just really sort out the basics of running, a professional boxing organization. And number 2, grow the sport as well as transform the sport. Transform in the sense that the sport of boxing, as everyone knows, largely attracts young, talented men and women who come from working class and poor backgrounds. So the proceeds from the sport of boxing must really benefit, these young women and men, which is why we've said we've got to really place a boxer,
Mr. Jack,
at the center of our work.
Yeah, Luthando, I'm going to pause right there. I'm not trying to cut you, but maybe for the sake of the interview, I hear you. In fact, I'm going to play this clip. I'd like for our director to play this clip. Please listen. And this is a clip that you had speaking about renewal, taking boxing forward. It was on this very show, actually, on the 5th of May that you had this interview. Let's listen quickly.
We would really want to bring it back, to its former glory. And we set ourselves an ambitious program, in terms of really placing it on a renewal trajectory. And part of that return is really its exposure, which is why we think that the return of the public broadcaster, to the broadcasting of boxing, not just the public broadcaster, that is television, but also radio, will be central. Hence, in partnership with the department, we started engagements, with the public broadcaster.
And I played this particular clip, Mr. Jack, because we've heard this before. We've heard you say that. This is what you said on the 5th of May last year. We need to move on now. You were in this chair in 2020. The 5th of May 2021, you tell us the same thing today. We are now in 2022.
No, Tabi, so let me tell you progress we've made.
That's what we'd like to hear, sir. That's what we'd like to hear, progress. If you're going to narrate from the same press release that you sent to me this morning, and same narrative you sent to us on the 5th of May on this very show, the same comment that you gave on the 20th of December, 21st of December 2020, obviously nothing's been done at Boxing South Africa if you're hearing the same thing over and over again. 3 years down the line now.
No, Tabi, so it's not 3 years down the line.
2 years.
We were appointed in December 2020. We are now in February 2021. So that's
2022.
2022.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
2 years. Apologies. Apologies. 2 years.
Nor is it 2 years, Tabi. So you must ask us, what did we do in the past 12 months in the office? Not 3 years.
2 years. Apologies.
No, in the past 12 months.
Okay.
We were appointed in December 2020, Tabi. So we are now in February 2021. So
2022.
So it's not 3 years. Yes, so it's not 3 years, Tabi. So we've now reached an agreement with SABC, which we're going to unveil publicly end of April in terms of how to return boxing into the public broadcaster. We're now discussing implementation modalities, when it comes to that. We've also on women in boxing. We've hosted tournaments. We've ensured that in all tournaments that are funded by government, at least we do have a women bout. But we've also hosted a women-only boxing tournament in Durban, in KZN last year, organized by a women promoter, featuring all bouts, all women. So that's the progress we've made.
Mr. Jack, and again, I'm not trying to cut you short, but we need progress. We've covered that. I know for a fact we covered those very tournaments here at SABC News on this very channel. So nothing you're telling me now is new. In the same way that in this clip that you had, again, on this very show with Vosiwe Ngobo, our co-anchor, this is what you said pertaining to the very same issues that you're telling me now. 5th of May, 2021. Let's listen.
Before the end of May, we'll have a joint strategic planning session, for instance, with the department, with a view to tabling the plans that we have crafted as the board, with a view to soliciting their support. And part of that session will also include a provincial department of sport, arts and culture, as well as related stakeholders, so that we can have a common view, in terms of where to take boxing.
5th of May 2021, you said you would have a structure following meetings with the Sports Ministry. You had a meeting with the Sports Ministry just a couple of days ago. We are still waiting for implementation from the 5th of May 2021. And I'm being hard on you, sir, because many a time we have sporting codes and we do the same with rugby, cricket or football. Our people would like answers. It's nice to sit and say, these are the plans. When are we actually going to start seeing progress? And saying to us, we will have this done. And it's not done, because you said the very same words you said to me now on the 5th of May 2021.
No, Tabi. So the joint strategy workshop that we promised to have is the one that we've just had now. We couldn't have it before May due to a number of reasons. But that workshop has now happened, and we've entered into a partnership with various provincial departments on what it is that we need to do to implement our renewal growth and a transformation program, including other players whose responsibility is to really facilitate the development of boxing. So we had a successful workshop. We said we're going to partner with Sanabo. We've worked on the MOU. We've signed the MOU with Sanabo. Now we've committed to a joint implementation program to ensure that we focus on the development of our athletes so that we've got a pipeline from amateur to professional, as well as we focus on the integrated holistic development of athletes.
Yeah, let's speak about
now.
Yeah, we're running out of time. We've got about 2 minutes left, Mr. Jack. So overall, as I said, you met with the minister 2 days ago. Maybe you can take us to in your conference. What was discussed? What are the plans? What should we look forward to? And again, and I'm saying this because there's always these discussions, and that's all we have. We met.
Yeah, Tabi, so we cannot not discuss, especially if you were number 2 in the 90s as boxing, and now you're sitting at number 7. You've got to diagnose properly the problem so that you can then proffer an appropriate prognosis to the challenge that you are facing. So on top of what I've said, revitalizing our women in boxing, implementing our MOU, with SANAPO, focusing on holistic development of athletes from amateur to professional. We've also agreed that let's work together to mobilize resources and sponsorship, for the sport of boxing. And we've also agreed that we've got to bring back provincial championships. And in this regard, at the end of March, we'll be launching, for instance, the provincial belt, of Gauteng, and which will be followed, by the launch of the provincial belt of the Western Cape. We'll go also to other provinces. So it's part of the work that we are doing, Tabiso. And we've also agreed that we've got to develop a joint academy between ourselves and SANAPO to really train all our licensees and officials as part of professionalizing the sport of boxing.
Yeah, Mr. Jack, thanks very much. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to stop you there. I like the bit at the end with SANAPO and the amateurs because, once again, we've had the conversations. Remember, at one stage, we were going to bring in the Cubans. At one stage, we're going to send young boxers to train the South African National Defence Force. It's all good and well in planning. I think South Africans, like many of us who love sports, actually want to start seeing things come out and actually seeing what all that money and all the talk actually turns out and comes out to. Hopefully you will come back to us in March when you do that launch of the provincial belts. As I said, we will give you the platform. I have to ask these questions because that's what our viewers and South Africans want to hear, and hopefully you'll give us again the platform to come back to us and say, this is what we've done since our last conversation, Mr. Jack.
Provide answers, Tavi, so no problem at all. We welcome the opportunity.
Much appreciated, sir. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. That was Luthando Jack, Luthando Jack, who's CEO at Boxing South Africa, not CEO, rather Chairman at Boxing South Africa, speaking to us there, but all things boxing. As we had tough conversations there, and a lot of people were asking the very questions that we wanted to ask. There's been a lot of talk over the past couple of years since this board came to action, it came to being, but what is the action thereafter? People would like to know the answers, and so do we.